Good morning and welcome to Live at the Legislature, where every week we tell you about the bills, issues, and events happening down at the state capitol. With us this week, we have Lisa Kitagawa, Representative Lisa Kitagawa, excuse me. She represents District 48, which is Kaneohe, Kahaluu, and Waiahole, and she is Vice President of the Vice Chair of the Consumer Protection and Commerce Committee. Representative, thank you for joining us on this rainy Tuesday morning.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me.
Very good. Well, it's Education Week at the state capitol, but this year, due to the coronavirus restrictions, there will not be the usual public presentations of certificates and the recognition of our top educators. But lawmakers still want to recognize and honor students, teachers, and staff for their contributions to education in Hawaii. Representative, why is it important that the legislature recognize excellence in education in our public schools?
Thanks for that question, James. It's really important that we recognize education in our public schools. I think, teachers go into their profession not because it's something that they get lots of recognition for, they get lots of money, but they go into it because they really love their job and they love working with kids and they really feel a passion and a calling to be able to educate the next generation of leaders, especially here in Hawaii. So it's so important that we recognize them, we thank them, and we let them know that we appreciate them for all of the work. Being a teacher is really something that I think is a sacrifice. My mom was a 30-year public education teacher, and so I seen, just how much work and effort and love she just put into her job every day, whether that's buying kids, school supplies that they didn't have, spending weekends correcting work or helping with projects. And I think all of our teachers in Hawaii and in our public schools and private schools really do that. And so we just really want to take a small part of, the legislative session to be able to say thank you and to really appreciate them for all of the work that they do. So it's really important that we continue to do this, even though we're in a pandemic right now.
Oh, I agree totally. We all have a teacher in our memory that did something special for us. But during this pandemic, schools have been forced to use distance learning. How do you think that has worked out, and are you and the families in your district ready to go back to school yet?
Well, I think given the circumstances, distance education has worked out the best that it could. Both of my children, I have a third grader and a first grader, they're on right now blended learning. They started off with distance education, but now they're into blended learning. And I think it's worked out really well. They're doing really well. And the teachers have really done an excellent job adapting to this new way of teaching, whether it's both in person and on the computer. But everyone is excited about getting back to school and getting the kids back into the classroom, whether that's from the elementary level all the way up into the high school level and even college. We really want to get our kids and students back to the classroom because there's certain parts of the educational experience that you're missing out on when you're just behind the computer screen, especially the socialization factor. But I think we always want to remember that safety has to come first and that's really important. And we don't want to backtrack on any of the progress we've made as far as our coronavirus numbers, but we just want to make sure that we move into all face-to-face learning in a safe manner and in a manner that's going to work for each school and each community because they're all very different. So that's something to just keep in mind.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, you grew up in Kaneohe and attended public schools. You graduated from UH Manoa, where you were a faculty member, and you are now raising your own family. You've experienced education from all sides, and as you mentioned, your mother was a teacher, which I didn't know until this morning. What in your mind makes a good teacher, and what direction should we be going with public education in our state?
Well, I think there are a lot of qualities that make a great teacher, but I think some of the most important really are their heart for impacting students. It's that love that they give, it's the selflessness. And I think that, it takes a real special person to be a teacher. And you can tell when you think back to your time in school, there are a few teachers that really stand out. And I think why they stand out is because they made an impact on you personally. They touched your heart in a certain way that made you remember them. And I think that's really important. Of course, they work so hard. They think of innovative ways to educate our kids, and they're always giving. And those are all important things about our teachers. And I think moving into the future, education, especially public education, it has to always be student focused and student centered. And we always need to think about what is the most important thing for our kids. And that's how I think we should make policy and schools should move forward. It's about what can we do to help our kids succeed and thrive and to be really ready for whatever the next step is after public education, whether that's college or going into the workforce. We want to make sure that our kids are prepared and our kids can be successful in life. And so I think that's something that we need to remember as we're making policy for the state, but also as we start moving back into the classroom, that, we always have the student's best interest in mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways they can go after school, college or trade schools or whatever they feel is best. That's good. And you have 8 public schools in your district, which is more than most districts, I believe. With our tight budget this year and the ongoing needs of public schools across the state, what are the most important needs of schools in your district, and what are the chances of them getting those improvements this year?
Well, I think there's needs across the state as far as public education. In my district, which is not different than other districts, we always need capital improvement projects. So many of our schools are old. The infrastructure is failing. Things are falling apart. Kids really need access to distance education materials, to computers, to the internet. Teachers need the support in their classroom. Teacher pay is another important issue. So there's so many things I think that education needs. This year is so hard because, of course, we're coming out of the pandemic. The budget is just not what it used to be in previous years. And so we're really trying to work with a limited amount of funding. So I don't know what the possibility is going to be as far as being able to fund education, because every sector of our state and our government and private sector are really hurting financially. But I think looking to the future and to the long term, we really need to start investing in education, because the bottom line is that our kids are our future. They're going to be our leaders. They're the next generation. They're the ones who are going to help us get through all the challenges that we need to face when you and I are retired and much older, and and my kids and all of the kids that are in school now are going to be the ones leading our state. So it's really important that we invest in that and we make education a priority. And so I think in the long haul, we're going to be able to do that as our budget recovers. But this year, it's really going to be a difficult decision.
Yeah, I do miss the children all over during Education Week. Usually they're out in the mezzanine and kids are everywhere, and it's so much fun to have them here. But thank you for being on the show today and reminding us of why we have Education Week and the value of our schools and teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what do you see?
A community that is engaged, empowered, a place where free speech is alive and well.
Tell me more.
For 30 years, thousands of local people on TV sharing their stories, culture, and viewpoints uncensored.
Uncensored? Where can that be?
Right here, my son.
Wow!
Isn't it time to empower your voice?
The Public Access Room has some great handouts to help you make sense of the deadlines that govern the action here at the Capitol. In addition to our color-coded session calendar, our Which Deadlines Apply to My Bill document can help to keep you sane. It's a handy chart that helps you find which deadlines you need to focus on for a specific bill, depending on the number of committee referrals it's received. Find these handouts and more under the Current Legislature tab on our website, and call or email us if you'd like help.
It's very important to have Melea'e here.
The experience of local artists that are going to be the future of our music here in Hawaii.
There's a huge music scene that is pretty underground.
This is a great platform to get seen. All genres that exist are out here, and there's people that love it and that are making it.
that gives us as young and even older musicians an opportunity to share our music that we never ever had before.
Aloha, and welcome back to the Senate segment of Live at the Legislature. My name is Jacob Aki, and today we're joined by Senator Gil Riviere. Senator Riviere represents Senate District 23, which includes the areas of the North Shore of the island of Oahu. Senator, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Aloha.
You know, with all of this crazy weather and torrential downpours, your district was one of the areas in the state that was the most impacted. Can you talk about what the impacts of this storm has been for your district and for the people in your community?
Yeah, so the windward side of Oahu gets a lot of rain, and they're familiar with lots of rain. This particular storm really pounded Hauula. It brought every street coming off the mountains became a little river of water. So people where normally they don't experience the flooding were calling me and saying, hey, there's water coming down the highway and across that land that I've never seen before. So it was heavy in Hauula. And then that same storm pushed across the mountain and then dumped a lot of water up in the Kotlaos. And then it went towards Haleiwa. And I think most people are aware of the flooding that occurred in Haleiwa. So Haleiwa is not, they have, in that area, it does flood every several years. So it's not unprecedented of the flooding, but just this year was a lot and a lot more, and a lot of people have been impacted.
Was there any damage to any critical infrastructure?
No, as far as I know, nothing. There wasn't any road washouts or anything like that. People are concerned and they're disappointed or frustrated. The people that were directly impacted, and it's a difficult thing to do. Fortunately, the Opaiula stream has water meters to tell what's going on. So there was a short warning of imminent flood. So the upper meters noticed that the stream was suddenly 3 feet higher than flood stage. So it was at that point that emergency management issued the flood warnings. And of course, the people impacted complained that it wasn't enough time. But I would note that there were flash flood warnings in effect at that time. So if you live near a stream, I think flash flood warnings are really, we have to take them seriously. And you may remember a week or two ago, a couple of people were lost in Maui because they didn't understand what a flash flood was, and they got blown out of the stream. And it's just tragic. So there's a lot to talk about here. Thank you.
I also want to highlight before we move on, really the resiliency and the generosity of not just those living in your district, but really of our Hawaii community and what we do when we recognize that there are others who may need help. I know late last week, there were a few senators and community organizations that rallied to provide much needed supplies and resources to the Hauula community, as well as to other communities on the North Shore. Can you talk about that? Because I really think, during these troubling times, it's so great to see our communities come together to take care of one another.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The communities sprung into action right away. I want to applaud the folks over at the Mormon Church in Waialua. The folks that were behind this want to remain anonymous. They're too humble and kind to want to be identified. But they immediately stood up a website called HaleiwaFloodRelief.com. And there's still right now, there's still updated information as to relief efforts, how people can help and what they can do. And they organized a lot of activity, a lot of cleaning, a lot of supplies, a lot of donations. So they were right out of the gate. Over in Hauula's side, lahuifoundation.org has organized much of the relief over there, and it's just been really heartwarming to see everybody stepping forward, going out there, slogging and mucking and getting debris out. And then, as you mentioned, it's not just in the community. There's other people elsewhere. Senator Misa Lucha organized an event in Pearl City. Senator Nishihara participated in that, and I went out there, and it was really kind of people to all over to be coming forward. There were people from Makaha and from Waianae and Waimanalo. People were coming from all over to lend a hand. So it was really good. It's good human Hawaii people caring for each other.
It is. Senator, we do have a few minutes left, and I know you have to make your way over to the state capitol, but I do want to cover what are some of your legislative priorities for the session? We are past crossover. The Senate bills have gone to the House, and the House bills have come to the Senate. But what are some of your either priority bills or some issues you hope to tackle in the remaining days of this session?
Well, this is, as everyone knows, this is an unusual year due to the financial constraints of everything. So I'm not trying to do any great new programs or campaigns, but I'm always in support because the district I represent, which is from Kaena to Kaneohe, basically all of the north and north and windward shores, most of it, the northern parts. We've got so much natural reserves and resources that I'm always advocating for DLNR to increase their funding, to have better doe care support and forestry support. So there's a lot of measures moving through that I'm in full support of that are angling to get them going. We've got other bills that are more practical and universal too, such as catalytic converters. There's a rash of people stealing catalytic converters.
It's all over the news.
Yeah, they're valuable, and so one of my measures is crossing. It looks like it's got some traction and is going to move. Some of the other ideas addressing pollution or shark boat tours is a unique activity in our district. We had a measure going for there. It doesn't look like it's going to pass this year, but many of these projects that we put forth take 2 or 3 years, to get through, to get the momentum, to work out the bugs. And in general, that process is what makes our democracy good.
It is, Senator. And, we have about 52 seconds left. Just wanted to quickly go over, this COVID-19 pandemic has definitely had a huge impact on every community across the state. How has the North Shore been faring? Because I know, tourism is kind of the bread and butter for many people out there in your district, but how has everything played out with this COVID-19 pandemic?
We've been pretty blessed because we're more of I don't know if this is wrong or not, but we're more outdoorsy than, we're not in high rises, riding elevators together. We're social distance. Yeah, we're more spread out. So we got a kind of a natural advantage there, ocean activity and outdoors. So we've weathered this pretty well. We've had low incidence numbers. There has been some concern with the public, the visitors not wearing masks, but in general, people are getting on well.
That's good, Senator. And, we are out of time, but I want to thank you for joining us here. And for those of you at home, please tune in next week, Tuesday at 8:30 for another episode of Live at the Legislature. Aloha.
God, make it a great day. Aloha.